Welcome back to the lab, everybody. Today we are talking WWE 2K20. More specifically, what I would like to see implemented into 2K20's gameplay. Now, I've made no secrets as to how I feel about 2K's gameplay, as you can go back and listen to my 2K19 review. I think it's an issue that has been plaguing the series for a number of years now. It's an area that needs significant work. Now, 2K has made it quite clear that they are going down the simulation route. They want the gameplay to be as true to real form as possible. However, I think they come up short in this department because when you step back and you take a look at the overall landscape of professional wrestling as a whole, it is a much faster, high-energy, fast-paced environment than it has been ever before. So I think if you're going to go the simulation route, your gameplay needs to be a reflection of that. It needs to be quicker. It needs to be cleaner, sharper, crisper. I think that the slow, robotic movements that you see from the superstars in these games is just not true to real-life counterparts. It's not. I'm sorry. They fail in that department. There's a fine line to walk between simulation and fun. It's tricky, I get it, to balance that scale, but I don't think it's impossible. We've seen it done before. Now, how do you correct this? For starters, the cruiserweights need to feel more like cruiserweights. They need to be significantly quicker, they need to move around the ring with fluidity, and they need to be able to do things that the heavyweights just can't do. I'm not talking just make the cruiserweights not able to lift the heavyweights. I mean, come on now, you can do better than that. The cruiserweights need to be able to be hard to grab for the heavyweight. They need to be able to play a little possum with the heavyweights. They need to be able to lure them into the corner and then be able to dart out and turn the tables at a moment's notice. And on the flip side, the heavyweights need to be able to really put a beat down on the cruiserweights once they get their hands on them. They need to be able to throw them around the ring with more ease than they can with other heavyweights. You need to make sure that you have different animations set in place for heavyweights grappling cruiserweights as opposed to other heavyweights. I don't think that's really asking a lot, and it'd be a nice touch to make superstars feel not only more like themselves, but to make weight classes actually be a factor. When you see in real life Braun Strowman facing Kalisto, for example, or just a heavyweight against a cruiserweight in general, these are real factors in the match. They tell that story in the ring with their movesets. So if you want to go the simulation route, 2K, you need to make sure that these superstars feel a lot more like themselves. Now, I'm not going to just stop there at the superstars because I think the referees also need to be overhauled. A lot of times in 2K19, it'll take forever for the referee to get in a position to count a pin. Now, it's not always a big factor, but I mean, it does kind of suck out the energy of the match, and it slows things down quite a bit. So just everything between the superstars and the referee just needs to be cleaner, and it needs to be more fluid. I'd also like to see clean and dirty tactics make a return. They had this in SmackDown vs. Raw, the first one, and I thought it was a very, very cool concept. A lot of people will argue, oh, well, the days of clean and dirty, heel and babyface are over, it's all just shades of gray. Cut the crap. Wrestling has always been and is still about today between a good guy and a bad guy. There's a guy you're rooting for and a guy you're not rooting for. And I think it's as prevalent today as it's ever been. So you need to make your gameplay a reflection of that as well. I'd like to see rewards for playing a superstar in a babyface fashion, taking high-risk maneuvers, playing to the crowd, playing with honor, and that. But on the flip side, I'd also like to see heels be rewarded for playing the part of a heel, bending the rules, holding on to a submission after your opponent has reached the ropes, and so on and so forth. I think that if you put those things in the game too, you're playing games within the game and just making the gameplay that much more interesting. They should have never removed that. That was a great feature. Now, on to the next issue. Pinfalls. They need to be completely revamped. Let me ask you a question. How many times on WWE television do you see a match end following something that's not a finisher? Doesn't happen often, right? More specifically, how many times on WWE television do you see a match end following a snap suplex or a Russian leg sweep? Not often, right? If ever at all. In 2K, that kind of dumb stuff happens all the time. I myself have put many foes away following just a running drop kick. Now, again, I go back to this. If you're going to say that you have a simulation-style game, then your gameplay, of course, needs to be a reflection of reality. And while I do think it would be really cool if matches ended off of moves that weren't necessarily finishers, I think it would add some thrill to the match and have you sitting on the end of your seat following every single move as opposed to only the signatures and finishers. That's just not the case, so your gameplay, of course, needs to reflect that. How do you fix that then? Well, I just don't think it should be possible at all to get a 3 count following a move that's not a finisher. If the momentum system in the game is, the epitome of the game, which it very much is, you're constantly working towards getting your finishers, then why should you be able to get out of a match early without hitting that mark? You know what I mean? So let's just not have pinfalls be possible. How do you do this? Well, when you pin an opponent following a random move, it should just take some stamina away to kick out of it. That way, you can still simulate reality because superstars attempt pinfalls all the time following, regular moves. They just don't get the 3 count, but it does something this way. It takes something out of your opponent to kick out. That means the pinfalls will still have meaning without ending the match if your opponent just has a miscue, because that just doesn't happen in real life, right? So let's fix that. Let's put that into the game. Make the pinfalls take out stamina in the early going, and then be a means to an end later following a finisher. And just to be clear, I know that it does already require a little bit of stamina to kick out of a pinfall. I'm saying that it should take out just a little bit more, and the kick out should be a given. You shouldn't even have to enter any input, you shouldn't have to button mash, you shouldn't have to time any meter release. It should just be an automatic kick out at a 2 or a 1, depending on the move and how late it is in the match, and a little stamina should be drained. That's all I'm saying. And now, lastly, what I'd like to see put into the game is the possibility to botch a move. Now, what I mean by botch for casuals, well, I sound really pretentious right there, don't I? But what I mean is just messing up a move. It happens all the time on TV, especially later on in matches when both superstars have their stamina completely drained and they've given each other all they've got. Sometimes you just can't quite reverse that tombstone pile driver, right, Roman Reigns? So, how do you put that into the game? Easy. Right now in 2K19, they just have the inability to perform certain moves if you don't have the stamina. I would like the ability to still be able to perform them, but at a risk. And if you don't pull off the requirements needed to do the move, then you botch it. What kind of requirements am I talking about? Well, a timing system would be really nice to put into the game for finishers or what have you. Whether that is a button input that you need to enter when prompted, or just being able to time the move at a point of impact. Either or. I'm not sure exactly how they'd want to do it, but I think if you add something like that, it'd be really cool because you could take a gamble on doing a move, and if you don't do it properly, you botch it. And the penalty for a botch should be complete momentum drain. That's right, set it all the way back to 0, because in real life, following a botch, you can just feel the air being sucked out of the arena. You really do. So if you set the momentum back down to 0 following a messed up move, I think you could really add some cool realism. It'd really make the match feel more authentic. But that's about all I've got. That's what I'd like to see implemented into 2K20's gameplay. So now I put the question onto you. What do you guys want to see put in 2K20's gameplay? Now, there's a million other things I'd like to see put into the overall game, but if we're talking just the core gameplay, as in what happens inside the squared circle, I think these are great steps in the right direction. And they'd make the game a lot more enjoyable, while being more true to the in-ring product, and while being more fun for the fans. Now, are you guys satisfied with the current product, or are you fed up like I am? I personally am kind of sick of the same game being released every year. I'd like to see some more big changes, and I don't even care if they're bad changes at this point. I just want to see that they're trying new things, because just repackaging the same game year after year for WWE games is becoming eerily similar to what I'm experiencing in the other sports games that I like to play, and that's the last thing that you wrestling fans want to see happen. Trust me, if you don't play those other sports games, it is a miserable hell. So if we don't put our feet down now and tell 2K that we want change, then expect the same game every year without much change. But as always, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's talk about this. I will catch you guys next time on The Lab. Good luck to Kofi at Extreme Rules, but I'd like to see a different result than what we see in this match. Alright, guys. I'll see you later.
Who could forget this? No doubt about it, he brought his A game, as you can see here.